Hello there. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jobadiah Christensen. Today I'm doing a Ninth Age battle report from the Fading Flame League. Let's get into it. This is a match 3 that I played in the Fading Flame League, but the way that the league is working, basically you can play your games ahead of time. So I was supposed to play this person in later on, in a few weeks later, but it doesn't matter as long as we get all the games done within the league within the proper time. The Brassus does not care. So, uh, again, my name is Jobadiah. I'm Roman's Revenge as a gamer. I'm playing Empire of Sonnstahl in this game, the Ninth Age. It's a fantasy tabletop miniatures game. Right now I'm playing it on Universal Battler because I have not been playing games in person, but that's going to change very soon. And my opponent in this league for this round was Harkunish from Germany, Bavaria, with the Highborn Elves. This is my Empire of Sonnstahl list. If you've seen my other videos, then you know what it's all about. If you want to know more about it, go back to, I believe, my first video for the Fading Flame League. I'll discuss the intricacies of this list. Moving along to my opponent's list, he had a High Prince on a Griffin with the fabled Nova Flare. Watch out for that guy. High Prince General on foot with the Spear of Silver of the Blazing Dawn. I guess yeah, it's Sliver. It's Sliver. My brain sometimes wants to read it Silver, but it's Sliver. All right. Then he also had a BSB that's just there with Master of the Conway Tower, Mage with Pyro, Seaguard, one of my least favorite units to play against in the entire game. Highborn Lancers, Elaine Reavers, Chaff, Queensguard, 3 Seaguard Reapers, and 2 Frost Phoenixes. Alright. Going into this matchup, I uh, I wanted to use my cannons to shoot the Griffin and the Phoenixes, obviously. And besides that, I was pretty confident because if you look at his list, outside of his Griffin and his Phoenixes, he doesn't have a lot that he can't really fight me, right? I have 3 big combat blocks I could just push into him. He can't do a thing about it, if I take care of those Phoenixes and the Griffin with my cannons. His secondary objective was capture the flags and deployment marching columns on map A7. For the Abrasis League, I've mentioned this before, Abrasis in the Fading Flame League specifies the secondary objective for the round, but the deployment is then rolled by the players. So not all players for the capture the flags round are playing marching columns on map 7. They could be playing um, really anything. They could be playing Dawn Assault on map 1. They could be playing Refused Flank on map 5. So it's all random, and that's fine. It just gives us all different experience. Alright, these are the spells. The top cards are the spells that I have. I always get Ice and Fire as a bound spell because of my Arcane Engine with Foresight. And then I have an Alchemy Master. So my Alchemy Master chose. Oh, and I have the Talisman of the Void, which means I can take the Hereditary, which means I can take the number 1 spell from another spell. It's an Empire roll. Look it up. So I took Fireball. I took Quicksilver Lash. I took Word of Iron, Glory of Gold, and Silver Spike. In hindsight, I should not have taken Fireball. I should have taken Know Thine Enemy, but I'm just playing around with this list and seeing what I can do with it. My opponent, his Pyro Adept took Flaming Swords and Pyroclastic Flow, and the Master of the Conrig Tower had the Raven's Wing, Oaken Throne, Awaken the Beast, and Favor of Maladies. Very efficient spell caster. After the game, my opponent asked me what he could have done differently or better, and I didn't mention it then because it didn't really occur to me, but as I was going through the cards, I realized while he did cast, or at least attempt to cast, Flaming Swords throughout the game, I don't think he ever cast Pyroclastic Flow, and part of that is because, as you'll see, the range on this is only 24 inches, and for most of the game I was not within 24 inches. He should have taken Fireball because that's 36 inches, and he could at least start to hurt me from range. So if you're watching this, Harkonish, I would recommend taking Fireball for matchups like that. I think that would be beneficial to you. All right. He won the roll for sides, so he took the bottom side. And then we started to deploy. This is marching column, so you have to put 3 units down. He first put down, I think these Reavers. Or, yeah, he put down a Phoenix behind this Impassable. I put down my Spears here, which was a terrible decision as I found out. He put down his Reavers in the woods. I put down my Handgunners here in the water. And then I think he put down his Sea Guard here or something. And it was then at that point I realized I should just drop for first. So then I dropped the rest of my guys in the middle here to pressure him. But by then, my plan was my plan had been basically to sit back and kind of corner because capture the flags. He has to come get me to get my scoring units. So I was just going to sit back with my cannons, shoot his big stuff, and he wasn't going to be able to get my scoring units. And that would have been that. That was my original plan going into it. This was how deployment ended up being, and then because I had first turn, he vanguarded his arrayed weavers behind the hill so that I could not shoot them, which was another mistake I'll talk about later on after the game. Alright, first turn. Now that I realized I'm way out of position, I push my spears way forwards. Well, not really way forwards, right? But that's all the further they can move, even with a march order. I can move 14 inches, and they move up to here. Besides that, I push my Imperial Guard and an Arcane Engine up to defend the wall, just so I have hard cover against all of his shooting. And that is about it. I put Ward of Iron, I guess, on my Imperial Guard because I'm afraid he is going to shoot them with his Bolt Thrower. Shooting first turn was actually good with my 2 long rifles in this handgunner unit. They did not move. I just had 2 long rifles from the Artificer and the Champion. I was able to shoot off this this repeater. Um, yeah, repeater, whatever they're called, in the woods here. So that was really good. Unfortunately, from the way everything's deployed, my cannons can't really do that much because his gigantic stuff is hidden. So there you have it. His turn. So he comes forward using the hill. So he's got his Griffin and his Phoenix hiding behind the hill. I can't touch him at all. Other Phoenix is hidden behind the Impassable. And you can see he actually just pulls his shooting back further. So these guys are his scoring units are not doing much. His Lancers are way back in the corner because they're a scoring unit and he doesn't want them to get hurt either. Alright. Let's see. I was able to basically stop all of his magic. It looks like he did not have a very good magic the first round. But shooting wise, he was able to kill a couple of my light infantry handgunners here. Actually, these are crossbows. Excuse me, I've been playing with handgunners for so long, I forgot. But both of my light infantry units are crossbows, so he killed a couple crossbows with his bolt thrower, and that was it. He was also able to put some wounds on this cannon with a bolt thrower. Alright, I pushed forward my spears even more. Although at this point, I should have kind of realized they're really too far away to actually do anything against his minions this game. And I just reposition here because in my mind, he's going to pop around this hill next turn and I need to be able to threaten him. Okay. Magic. Did I get anything off with magic? Yes. I got a spell off. It was probably Quicksilver Lash onto his Phoenix, but I only did 1 wound. With that, uh, shooting wise, I'm able to put a couple wounds onto this bolt thrower, but that is it. And my cannons, again, don't really have anything to fire at. This squiggly zone is I made an offhead comment to him because at this point I realized what his strategy is. and I told him you're supposed to come up through the middle of the map. He said no, that was the kill zone. He would never ever do that. This is the kill zone in red. So I mean, on the one hand, I guess I deployed decently because I made a kill zone. It forces him to avoid this middle. He has to come onto my flanks if he wants to do anything because I made a kill zone. But the issue with this is, even though I made a kill zone, I still can't really hurt him unless he comes into the kill zone, right? He's got a perfect hill to hide behind. So there you have that. All right. So at this point in the game, we are 2 turns in. Started turn 3. I realize what his strategy is. He's not going to come into the middle into my kill zone, which is what I want. My spears are way out of position. I can't really get them to fight his sea guard, which is really what I wanted to do with them at the beginning of the game. And my crossbows, even though they have a 30-inch range, they're just still out of position and they're not really able to threaten him. Because if I move forwards, if I march, well, even if I just move 4 inches, they were unwieldy. They have -2 to hit, so I should just march him 8 inches forwards. But he just keeps moving his guys back, so I can't hurt him. So his strategy basically is to just keep going back and back. I guess if I'd anticipated that earlier in the game, I could have marched forwards to the point where he then would be in range and wouldn't be able to move any further. Um, but I realized at this point I could either just sit back and actually start pulling my units back into the corner, and take a nice 10-10, and that would be the game. Or I could push forwards, and my hope was that I could have. Well, this is what I did. I charged my Pure Guard into the Phoenix. My hope was that I would kill it, overrun into the Reavers, and then be in his flank. Yes, then he would be able to flank charge me with stuff, but I was confident in my Inquisitor to handle the Elf Prince on the Griffin, so I wasn't really worried about that. And then my other plan was just to push forwards with this stuff, because if I kill the Phoenix and I overrun my Imperial Guard into his Elaine Reavers, my Imperial Guard are now in position here where they can threaten his Sea Guard if his Elaine Reavers get pinned by my Imperial Guard. So there you have it. Um, yeah. All right. Magic. I put a Word of Iron boosted onto my Imperial Guard, so they now have a 2-up armor save. And that's it. Combat did not go as I wanted to or thought. I only did one, well, 2 wounds. I think he healed the wound on a previous turn. I did 2 wounds to his Phoenix. Not a happy camper about that. Great swords. I mean, the Imperial Guard have great weapons, so they're strength 6. They wound on 3s. The main issue was that with the Frost Phoenix's aura, I had -2 offense and a -2 agility. The agility didn't matter because my Arcane Engine was too far away to give its benefit of foresight. But that was the main issue. I needed Know Thine Enemy, which he probably still would have dispelled. But Know Thine Enemy is what I really needed in this battle to counteract the Frost Phoenix aura. All right. So of course, on his turn, he charges his Griffin into my front. He charges his Lancers into my flank. He puts his Elaine Reavers to chaff my unit, which is why I needed to kill the Phoenix so that I could overrun into the Reavers so that they couldn't chaff me. And then he gets off a Flaming Swords onto his Lancers, because I think I knew he was either going to get that through or Awaken the Beast, and I'd rather have him have Flaming Swords through than Awaken the Beast. So, and yeah, shooting wise, he keeps shooting my crossbows. That's about it. Oh, and he killed a cannon the previous turn. I realized too late I should have moved my light infantry over to block line of sight, but his repeater was able to see my cannon and take it off. All right, so his Griffin kills my Inquisitor very easily. And I only am able to kill like two lancers. Or maybe, yeah, I killed two lancers. Um, I was able to kill the phoenix though, finally, but it was a turn too late. I really needed to kill that phoenix in one turn. And um oh yeah. Now that makes sense. All right. And so yeah, I charged my Imperial Guard into the Elaine Reavers. I move my Arcane Engine up just touching the hill so I can see his units and try to blast them with magic. Uh, I'm not really. I think I was able to get a fireball off on his Queen's Guard, so I was able to reduce them, but not enough to get points. And then my Imperial Guard, since I didn't have the Inquisitor in there anymore, they're no longer. Well, they were steadfast, but I rolled a 10, and I'm only discipline 9, so they broke. Uh, So his Reavers overran into, or no, his Lancers pursued, and that ended up being a charge into my Arcane Engine. My Imperial Guard were able to kill the Reavers, of course, and they overran just so I could get close. Oh, maybe that was what my rule of 10 was. Um, I was able to push in real close to his Sea Guard with them, which is what I wanted, but they're not quite out of arc of his Griffin. I needed an 11 to get out of arc of the Griffin, so then on his turn he charges his Griffin into my flank, and let's see. His shooting, he takes off more crossbows. He reforms his Sea Guard just in case he needs to fight. My Arcane Engine breaks from combat, and so they Lancers pursue and overrun them. His Griffin killed my general. I think I had my general in a duel because I had distracting and Aegis saves, and I thought I could survive. Nope, Griffin killed him. Um, and then my Pure Guard fled, and they actually rolled a 12, so they ran. They got away from the Griffin this turn. Uh, I moved my crossbows just to align to shoot the Lancers. I was able to rally my Imperial Guard, but now they're just kind of out here in no man's land. Um, my cannon was able to do 3 wounds to his Griffin, but he's still alive. His Phoenix on his turn, he charges his Lancers. I still had, like, yeah, I moved my light infantry, so I was only hitting on 6s, and I was hoping to kill more. He was able to charge in. My crossbows just didn't do enough. I really kind of needed handgunners against those lancers because they have AP2. His Phoenix charged my Pure Guard in the rear and was able to break them and run them down. So that unit's gone. He's now killed 2 scoring units of mine. I've killed 0 of his. And then he just pulls his Griffin back to hide to not give up points, and he pulls his Queen's Guard back to hide and not give up points or objective. Um, and then I push my spears up. Too late. My crossbows do hold this turn. Let's see. And that's about all that's gonna happen. He kills this unit of crossbows, and then my artificer fled because there were no other it doesn't count as a support unit anymore. It doesn't matter. So he fled, he got away, and then the Lancer stayed. And so that was the game. That ended up being a 19-1 loss for me. Uh oh, that and pretty much just stemmed from me charging on turn 3. So it was a 1-19 loss. It was a fun game against Arcunish. He's a very nice player. He's he kept telling me he's a newer player and he's not as good as me, but He's very tactical. I kept telling him they must have a tactics school in Bavaria because they know how to play in Bavaria. They're very tactical in a way that people don't play here in the US, so I don't have experience against that type of play. Uh, so I decided to write up some lessons, right? These are some things that I took away from the game. Number one, don't fight on your enemy's terms, fight on your terms or not at all. This kind of stems through on turn three. I fought, I charged into the Phoenix, which was a whole setup from him by the hill. That was basically, I should have gotten my highlighter, laser pointer. Um, Basically that set up counter charges with Miss Griffin and his Lancers. So that was fighting a battle. I picked a battle that was his terms, not mine. He was never gonna fight on my terms, though, which was disappointing. So I should have just stayed back. Number two, it's hard to change a plan in the middle of the battle. I need to stick to the plan. I told you guys at the beginning, my plan was basically to kind of sit in this corner, use my cannons to zone him if he comes out and fights me, and otherwise, I wasn't going to move forward. That's why I deployed the way I did. And then I decided partway through the battle, oh, he's never going to come fight me, so I need to come fight him. And so I changed my plan, which was a terrible idea. Number three, and this is a little controversial. If you want to win, sometimes you need to not have fun. I didn't really mention this earlier, but on turn three, when I charged my Pure Guard into the Phoenix, I did it because I decided it would be more fun to do that. I knew at the time, and I waited in my mind, I had two options. I could either stay back, I could actually literally move my units back, because I figured out what his plan was. He was never going to come into the kill zone. I could have moved my units back, gotten a 10-10, maybe a 9-11 because I'd already picked off a repeater. If I picked off one more repeater and protected my cannon, maybe I would have gotten enough points here or there to get a 11-9 or a 9-11, either which way. But it would have been an extremely boring game in my opinion, and I was not going to have fun doing it. I knew that 2 turns in, we'd already been doing that for 2 turns, and I was like, I don't want to do this another 4 turns. This is boring. This was not what I signed up for this game. So I'm going to push forwards. I'm going to change my plan, and I'm going to push into him. I don't like that style of play, or at least last week when I played this game, I didn't feel like playing that way on that day, in that time period, right? Maybe there's a different day. I would have been perfectly happy to sit back and take a 10-10. I didn't feel like it. I wanted to have fun, and last week my idea of fun was to push forwards, and I decided I would rather get a 0 and have fun than get a 10 and be bored out of my mind. So, if you want to win, though, sometimes you need to not have fun. Uh, Guys, let me know what you think. I know there's a lot of players in Ninth Age that can't really, to me, this statement is not going to make sense to them because to them, having fun is winning. But honestly, this is a game. I play it to have fun, and I'm going to have fun, whatever that means. A year ago, I was a bad player. I had a bad attitude about it. I played to win, and if I wasn't going to win, I made sure it was a bad experience for other people, and it was just miserable for me, miserable for the other person, and I was not helping the Ninth Age community at all. I totally flipped. I switched over to just playing to have fun, trying to relax, have a good time, and this is what kind of happens. So, I legitimately knew the objective best way to play, better, tactical play in this game, and I still chose not to do it because I wanted to have fun. So, you need to ask yourself as a player if you're there to really have fun or if you're just playing to win. Because someone has to lose, right? Someone has to lose. All right. That's enough on my soapbox. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's move along to point 4. Use infantry units to screen war machines when the targets are large or gigantic and the enemy has range attacks that can take out the war machines. I did mention this earlier. His repeater bolt thrower took out my cannon. I realized a turn too late. I needed to move my infantry units. If I just moved them 2 inches to the side, I could have blocked my cannon, and then his bolt thrower couldn't have taken it out. That's what I should have focused on. Early in the game, I should have just focused on, alright, I'm going to use my crossbows to take out his boltars, which is kind of what I mean. I did that on turn one with my long rifles, and I think that kind of surprised him because I was only able to do it because my long rifles have multiple wound too against standard, and Highborn Elf repeater bolt throwers are standard, so I was able to do multiple wound two to it with the long rifles, which have the same range as the bolt throwers. So, fun fact. Something I need to keep in my mind in the future. That's basically it for point four and point five, which was really the big issue with the whole game. If there is terrain, impassable, or hills that the enemy can use to hide behind, deploy ranged units to provide crossfire and deny that advantage. Deploy proactively to deny opponent advantages. This was my biggest problem throughout the whole game. Let's go to the beginning. Can I go to the beginning slide? No, why can't I go to the beginning? Alright. This was the biggest issue from the whole game. Yeah, this is deployment. So let's switch to a pen. Alright. I should have put a cannon right here. Light infantry, crossbows, right here. Now, if I do this, my cannon now has a line of sight to here. And then I should have put my other cannon here. Then, if he tries to hide behind the hill, he can probably still go on this corner and hide from this cannon on the left. But if he does that, my cannon on the right is going to get him. Or he can hide here and hide from this cannon on the right, but my cannon on the left is going to get him. So that was the big mistake of the game, and I know that. I've played that way before. The issue then is now I've got Empire units on opposite ends of the field. Empire units only have Discipline 7. And it feels like I need to play close together as an Empire. So, we'll see. That was the biggest mistake of the whole game. If I had done that, he would have needed to change his tactics drastically. I'm also thinking I should have just done that. Put cannon, light infantry here. Cannon, light infantry. Well, if I put light infantry here, they can't do anything. The only issue is then he could fly his cannon out, or his phoenix out, excuse me, and take out my cannon. Well, I don't know. And then I should have put Pier Guard here. Pier Guard, no, Spears here. Pier Guard here. Then, because I already realized he put his phoenix down here. With marching columns, he can't put anything to the left of his phoenix. So there's no need for me to put my spears to the left of his phoenix. I already knew at that point all of his units had to go in this box. So I should have just deployed the rest of my army here, forcing him into this corner. I have movement 14. I can just push forwards, and he can't do a whole lot. He's got to sit in this corner. My cannons can zone him. Would have been a completely 100% different game, all set up by my how to phrase this. It on the one hand it was a poor deployment because here was the biggest issue with the deployment. It was counting on him to come out, right? How do I erase all these? Erase all ink. So it was counting on him to come forwards into, like we said, the kill zone. If he wasn't going to come into the kill zone, which he wasn't, because he's a smart tactical player, then I had no other plan. Like, that was my plan. I created a kill zone. He wasn't going to come into it. And so I either needed to be content with a 10-10, like I said, or I needed to have a way to adapt. And with this army, on this map, with that deployment, I couldn't adapt. Because these guys were way out of position. And he said, he was like, why did you put your spears way over here on the left? Because he said my spears was the best unit I had against his army. I mean, I don't know. The Phoenixes and the Griffin would have just ripped through the spears as well as they ripped through the Imperial Guard. But I guess if his phoenixes and griffin were dealing with my Imperial Guard, my spears could have gotten into his archers, which could not have handled. I mean, his Sea Guard can't handle my spear unit. So, anyway, thank you for coming to my battle report from the Fading Flame League. Hope you learned something. Don't make the mistakes I did. This was a fun game, though, however, it turned out. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, leave me a like. If you didn't like it, leave me a dislike. And stay tuned for future battle reports. Be the player somebody wants to play again.